Adolescence is the age of discovery and enlightenment. This is where we finally gain consciousness. When I was 12 years old, I started thinking about my own identity, who I am, what are my hobbies, who are the people that I love. Well, I think it's time to think about a career, about pursuing something that actually will bring passion and will bring value to the world. What do we call that exactly? That is cognitive development. My reasoning has bloomed just now, my logical thinking, the way that I actually enter arguments and discussions. It wasn't just me saying yes, someone else saying no, and then we have some sort of like physical challenge, I guess, and whoever wins it is right. We actually can think on our own now. Hmm. This is what we will be touching on, John Piaget's theory on adolescence. Not only that, but let's not forget the incredible hormonal changes that are actually primarily responsible for all these changes, right? Not just physical, we're talking about cognitive. Also, the summer that I turned 12, I remember specifically my sister telling me that, hey, I remember you at the start of the summer, you were shorter than me. I literally towered you. And now, well, it's where relationship with parents actually do evolve. They don't cut out like other Western countries. This is where we seek autonomy. We learn to provide for ourselves. We learn to actually support other people. This is where we start off with the massive, massive ego hits, but then we actually start becoming more humble. What am I saying? Exactly. Is that we become strong, but we also learn how to be empathetic with others. What does that say? It says perception. It says also attention to others and not just ourselves. Do we remember what perception is? When defining perception, we don't just talk about physiology as in how I see my eyesight. No, that's definitely not what we're talking about. When we say perception, it's basically how we interpret the world. So look at this. This is one of the pictures that we looked at last term. It shows two faces, but also a vase in the middle. Now, what does that exactly tell us about perception? It says that, hey, as kids, we are more prone to actually looking at only one image, either it being good or either it being evil. But us as adolescents, we can obviously see two or even more pictures, right? We can interpret things in our own way and in a way that actually makes sense. Not only that, but the most important thing to master as an adult is selective attention. Let me just say this. As a person that has passed the age of 18, if you still have problems with your attention, well, you're either fully neglecting your own life, neglecting your brain, you're neglecting your own intelligence. Selective attention is the skill that actually allows you to focus on just one task specifically. So, no multitasking, no speaking to the camera, but also checking myself out in the mirror. I would say there's only one viable excuse for you as an adult if you still do not know how to have selective attention, let's say to have ADHD, for example. Other than that, your brain is, I would say, it's undeveloped, which leads us to our second point. It is speed of processing. Speed of processing refers to how quickly the brain can process information. This ability improves during childhood and adolescence, and as you grow even more until it hits a plateau right before you grow even older. Obviously, it is linked to the maturation of white matter in the brain. Let's just do a little recap. What exactly is white matter? Well, white matter transmits information through the myelinated axon. This is why it's white, not gray. Gray is gray, well, because it looks gray. And just a little side thing that I just wanted to say, well, apparently women have more white matter than men, which I guess means they're smarter or something. And now to my probably most favorite subject to talk about, memory. We have short-term memory, we have long-term, and we just have recall strategies, that's what I would call it. First of all, short-term memories. Short-term memories. Do you remember George Miller with his 7 plus or minus 2 rule? Of basically you can hold up to either 9 memories at a time at a single, let's say, 30-second serving, I would I would call it. or you can hold up to 5. Again, 7 plus 2 or minus short-term memory. The increasing capacity of short-term memory from a person, let's say, that is 5 years old to a person that is 12. Of course, the person that is older right now is able to remember more. This probably reflects some sort of neurological change, I would say. While what about long-term memories? Do they also improve with neurological changes? Well, I would say no. I would say that it actually improves because, well, you're getting older and now you have more memories, which means you have more experience on retrieving these memories. What does that say exactly? It says that we have better retrieval strategies as we grow older. Things like chunking, where we basically memorize, let's say, the first letter of every word and then we just go off with that instead of memorizing, let's say, the entire paragraph. What to say is that adolescence, as you grow older, you become better at organizing information in your head. In contrast to being a child, when all you were doing is just rehearsing, rehearsing, rehearsing. Obviously, we develop these memory strategies as a way of coping with all of this extra information that we get every day. So, guess what? We actually get to open a very, even more fun door this time: intelligence. Intelligence is an indicator of a person that actually knows how to navigate the world. I would never, ever say that intelligence is some sort of number like an IQ test results, right? You can definitely measure intelligence and you would measure it with, let's say, just faster processing speeds because, let's be honest, this is probably the only way to actually describe intelligence in words. How I would describe it myself is I would say that intelligence isn't genetics, it's not environmental. I would say intelligence is simply magic. If you have it, you do, and if you don't, well, you simply don't. Well, what is he even talking about? As we grow older, we become smarter very, very fast. And people do wonder, well, why do some people stop, let's say, at the age of 16, if it was measurable, at the age of 16, at let's say 100 IQ. And some others actually do continue getting even more and more smarter, even past their adolescence years. This is what I myself would call capacity. This is what our professor would call varied developmental speed. The pace at which intellectual abilities develop differs among individuals. This is probably the only way to explain it. So, question: can I basically say that I am a person of very high intelligence simply because I like psychology? What I basically try to do here is, well, obviously a generalization, but obviously also it is deductive reasoning. I could say all psychologists are smart. And I could say, well, if all psychologists are smart, Omar is a psychologist, that means he is smart. That is, well, it's not a good way of reasoning, which is the mental process used to draw conclusions based on available information. The other type of reasoning is inductive. Inductive is, well, it's another way of generalizing because at this point, this is all what we do. So let's give out an example. Let's say that Muhammad, the student, can think on a high level. That means that Omar, the student, can think on a high level also. Rala, the student, can think on a high level. That means, well, if simply you are a student, you can think on a high level. So what is the difference between both of them? Deductive reasoning draws specific conclusions from general principles. Like I said, all psychologists are smart. Then, if you are a psychologist, you must be also smart. Inductive generalizes from specific instances. Muhammad is a student and he can think on a high level. That means if you are a student, you can probably think on a high level. Now, finally, Piaget's theory for adolescence. Now, for some reason, when I read his name in the objectives, I actually thought that we would be talking about formal, concrete, operational thinking stuff, right? But I was to be surprised that, hey, Piaget actually will now talk about his formational stage. It says that there are 5 ways of thinking that the human actually develops later on in life. First of all is abstract. Abstract says the ability to think about, I wouldn't say intangible, like it's written there. I would say complex. I would say things that you wouldn't even understand, only if you actually experience them. Let's say things like love, like freedom, like justice. I would say it's a form of art. Ideologies are art. Logical thinking, it's the ability to solve complex problems, interferences, just mathematical stuff. Thinking and possibilities. I wouldn't bore you with the other two, thinking possibilities, future planning. Let's just go through them anyway. It's the ability to think about future scenarios, basically. It's literally what it says, right? Potential outcomes. Future planning, ability to set goals and make decisions regarding the future. Now, let's focus more on critical thinking. Critical thinking is to challenge norms, to challenge things that have been set out on you, to challenge ideas, challenge rules, right? One final thing, the little trio that can affect puberty, the dynamic integration of puberty. Puberty is considered an integrated process of biological, psychological, and I want to say social interactions. What is a final thing that I want to say before I end this video? Be aware and mindful of the changes that your child has. Give them space. Let them explore. Let them find out for themselves who they really are. Do not force any type of ideas on them. Instead, give them freedom in this very moment, because guess what? If you don't do that, well, you might probably lose them forever.